Jimpers. Little jimper. So hello. Well, today I'd like to take a look at these two books, which I think are wonderful bits of kit. They're written by the author Raymond T. McNally. And as a kid, I was really fascinated with horror films. I used to love the old Hammer House of Horror movies, usually with Christopher Lee and the great Peter Cushing and other such greats. You know, I really looked forward to when they came on the television. So during the time I was in Australia, I read this book, Dracula Was a Woman, and it effectively Dracula was a cross-dresser. You know, so you have to do it in that voice, don't you? The Hannibal Lecter, you know, fly, Miss Darling, you know, or whatever he said. I can't remember now. But effectively, this is based on the true tale of Countess Elisabeth Bathory, who was a 17th century countess, and she effectively probably bumped off quite a few hundred young girls, you know, well, 700 of them, because she used to bathe in their blood, believing in her deranged mind that she would get younger by doing so. And I live in Eastern Europe, in Poland, and ultimately there was a museum up in on one of the Baltic coastal towns, and it's got a skeleton there which has a stake driven through its heart. So they did believe in it, definitely. Obviously, it's done last year. So no, I'm joking, but it was an old relic from probably the same era, 17th century, and it had this poor skeleton had a sort of stake through its heart. You know, well, there wasn't any heart; it was just the bones beneath. It was the bones, but it had this wooden stake. And it was very interesting to see that this actually did exist and did actually go on. You know, that people were genuinely convinced there were vampires out there or sort of thing. But it's flapping about it, isn't it? I don't know what we can find in picture form in this book, but that's her. That's the Countess Elisabeth of Budapest. And there she is at feast. She was apparently a very, very gnarly woman. There are loads of films about her. Some of them are Hammer House of Horror, and some of them are kind of more you know, recent versions of the film of her life, you know, as it were. There. So she was on trial at Czechoslovakia by the look of it. So that's I can't even read it because my old eyes. It's all the old bits of the castles, isn't it, that she used to have. I don't know who that is. Very attractive woman. It looks like Judy Garland a little bit. So that's Carol Borland as Luna, the vampire girl. So this is where all these. There you go. Oh, cracking. You know, the old Christopher Lee. As Count Dracula, you know, and the girls with their necks with the two vampire punch holes in them, sort of thing. I used to love all this stuff. So that's one of the Ingrid Pitt, who's a brilliant actress, portraying Elisabeth Bathory in one of the, I presume that's Countess Dracula. So that probably is a Hammer. Yeah, it is. It's a Hammer production. Awesome. Oh, I love it a lot. And there she is, in the 1970s, doing that. And that's sort of, I remember that film actually. I remember the movie. And when she's not got the blood, she sort of turns into this old hag, you know. But no, they're great. They're groovy. But that's a softback one. Okay. Another one I've got, which is hardback. It's the same author, Raymond T. McNally, and this book's called Radu Florescu by the look of it. Yes, I think that's how you would say that. In Search of Dracula, the enthralling history of Dracula and vampires. And well, there's the old bits and bobs that you'll need to so this is based about a fellow called Vlad Țepeș, who was actually a very, very clever soldier, because what he did was he drove off the Ottoman Turks. by the most brutal ways forward. I mean, I've seen it myself in modern times, in the 70s. Farmers used to, it's horrible, you're not going to like what I'm about to say. Farmers used to impale crows on fences and spread their wings and nail them into fences, so that other crows would think, oh no, I'm not coming down to eat on that farmer's land, innit? But this bloke had the idea of impaling them, and so hence he became known as Vlad the Impaler. Oh, that's an interesting surname. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Know what I mean? Know what I mean? So there's all the bits that you've got. Yeah. So let's go to the pictures, because obviously we're not going to read through the book, are we? Well, all right. Are we sitting comfortably? It was so funny because Al from Al's Collectibles reminded me the other day of something very hilarious. My school teacher, Miss Maybe, nursery school teacher, used to say that before we sat down, and we were about 4 or 5, I suppose 5. So there's the one of the pictures. You know, obviously an impaling going on. It's a thing of impaling, and that's his castle there. By the look of it, Castle Dracula. I think this bloke was in, I can't remember where it was now, where the arches are, or Transylvania, is it? Transylvania? I think so. But it was very high up in the mountains. The best film to watch, of course, is the Bram Stoker's Dracula with Gary Oldman. Because it's awesome. It's a really awesome film, and Gary Oldman, you know, really knocks it out brilliantly. So that's Kronstadt, 17th century engraving of Brasov Kronstadt in the old German, as it existed in Dracula's time. But there's some great images in here. I don't think there's any photos per se. There he is. That's the chap. That's the Vlad Dracula, the Order of the Dracula. Interesting. Well, I found it so anyway. I mean, not everyone might think. They might think, well, what you're on about, Addy? Why you've been smoking today, Jim? But no, it's I like these sorts of things. I really do. Did enjoy that. As I say, the Hammer films got me clicked into it all, sort of thing. And yeah, I used to love old Christopher Lee. He was very tall. I mean, I think he was in the SAS as well in real life. Obviously not as Dracula, but can you imagine? He sort of turns up on a battlefield dressed as Dracula, you know, and suddenly starts sort of sucking people's blood. No, that I'm joking. You know, in real life, he was in the Special Air Service, I think. Vlad Țepeș, and that's, you know, the birthplace, they reckon, of the real Dracula in 1431, in the year of our Lord 1431. Mish money penny. So it's all interesting. Well, I find it so anyway. There's some nice photos, so I can highly recommend these books. I mean, Vlad sort of changes his look, you know, from time to time. It looks like he's got 2 monocles on there, isn't it? It's quite weird. Or maybe it's just bags under his eyes from all the people that he was impaling. He was probably quite a tiring trade, actually, impaling people, you know. There's another 5 of them, you know, to do so. I'll shook them up with the bowls. That's the great actor who's passed now, unfortunately, the great screen idol Christopher Lee, who played Dracula brilliantly as well. He was very good. He was very, very good. Although apparently, I never actually personally met him, but my wife did, and she said, oh, the worst thing you could ever say would be to call him Dracula. It used to wind him up, you know. Why that would be, I don't know, because he obviously made his money on it, made his name by being Dracula. But I think by the time he got a bit older, he wanted to lose that image and move on, which he did very successfully. I mean, one of the best parts he ever took, in my opinion, was Scaramanga, in the 1974 movie The Man with the Golden Gun with Roger Moore. I thought that was brilliant. I thought he did a brilliant job of that with the the little French chap. I can't remember his name now. That's Hergé something, was it? Anyway, my brain is gone. So that was a really good film. That's the one I'm talking about with the Gary Oldman, and it also stars whoa, you know, what's his name? Whoa, dude. I can't remember. God help us all. Sadie Frost is in it. I know that. Sadie Frost is gorgeous. She's married to one of the brothers out of Spandau Ballet. Who's another nice chap I've actually met as well. I haven't met them all, isn't it? But Gary, no, it's not going to come back. Brain, not been having the pills today. Anthony Hopkins is in this movie, this one with Gary Oldman. Who is he? Whoa, what's his name? Bill and Ted. You know, remember Bill and Ted? Oh man, the brain, it's just not happening, is it? That's Sadie Frost in the coffin, in a sarcophagus. But she's actually a very, very pretty girl. That's Gary Oldman as Dracula. Keanu Reeves. Whoa, dude. Hey, totally rad, dude. I like him a lot. He's a very good actor, actually. He's very versatile, I think that's the word. He can do a lot of different things. But Bill and Ted is a thing to watch as well if you want to laugh. If you're still a sort of teenager smoking pot, then you want to watch things like Bill and Ted. That'll make you laugh like a drain. It is. Who's that? That's a famous. Nosferatu, I think that was. Max. What's it saying there? I can't read it. You'll have to read it for yourselves, guys and girls. Max Schenk, is it? Does it say Schnesch, Schnu, Schang, Hoing, Bang? Goes the old chair as I sit down these days. But no, I like it a lot. Good book, very good book, very interesting. If you're interested in all things Dracula, and of course Bram Stoker, the author, wrote the book Dracula, you know, and again a good read, a very good read. The Kilmarnock Arms, the Cruden Bay, Scotland, from where Bram Stoker stayed whilst writing Dracula. And that's Slains Castle at Cruden Bay, where the probable inspiration for Stoker's description of Castle Dracula. So, all good. Drifting digestion. Sir Henry Irving, a portrait by Jules Bastien Lepage sounds very French, doesn't he? Jules Bastien Lepage. At the time, Bram Stoker was Irving's private secretary. So that's interesting, isn't it? Well, there you go. So you learn something. You live and learn something every day. And that's a fellow called John Sheridan. One of the greatest vampire stories of all time, he wrote. The short novel Carmilla, however you say that. No, I like vampires. In fact, we get bats around here. And Highgate Cemetery is somewhere where it's very close to where I used to live, actually. We used to visit there. The Highgate Cemetery is full of Jack Straw's Castle. Stick it up, yep. But basically, that Highgate Cemetery was very close to where I used to live in Wood Green near Muswell Hill. And we used to visit the place. I think the head of huge Karl Marx is buried there. This bloody great grave. I mean, he was supposed to be some sort of, rationalist and everything, but his gravestone's about 10 times the size of everyone else's, you know what I mean? It's like ridiculous. John Betjeman's grandfather's there, and more recently, sadly, so is George Michael, the famous singer, the famous crooner that came from Watford, where I was from. I've seen him as well in concert. Well, when he was, early days sort of thing. So there she is, Elisabeth Bathory, leaning back in her chair, so bloated with blood, probably, But anyway, this video is really rolling on now, so I'll say thank you very much for watching, and I'll leave you with Jimmy because he's snoozing like a cruisy ninny. Well, it says I was though, till you disturb me. But all the very best. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Cheers. It's the button, Stan, mate. It's the button again. Can't switch it off, can I? It's Bloody camera. Drives me nuts, it does, sir. Drives me nuts. I'll have to crash out of it. Sod it.